Alright, so I came across this little cultivator, or whatever you call it, a tiller, and looks like it has been sitting out in the sun for a long time. You can see all the paint's faded, and a lot of the plastic is cracking here. Pull start is the handle's off of it and I can't budge it, but we'll see what happens. Other than that, it looks like it's all there. Looks like it needs a pretty good cleaning. So what is this? Oh, add-on weight system. Okay, I was wondering what this little plastic cavity. Usually I don't put any liquid or anything in there, but I guess it's, you can add liquid or dirt to add some weight to the front end of it while you're trying to do your cultivating there. But looks pretty rusted underneath. But like I said, it's all there. I don't see any signs of anything leaking under here. But so hopefully it's just a case where the handle broke and they just put it away or let it sit there somewhere, and wow. Little on-off switch is frozen. Yeah, it just sat outside for a long time. Looks like the cable is really not budging, so I'll have to get some WD-40 after it and get this sucker cleaned up. Well, let's see if we can get it running. I'm going to get it cleaned up and first of all check out the pull rope there, and make sure that's the only thing that's stuck. Hopefully the engine isn't frozen. But well, let's start taking it apart and take a look at it. The bulb just came apart in pieces. So even if we get this thing running, that's what I'm worried about. All the plastic is just cracking all over the place. It's sat out in the sun for quite a while, and alright, so you can see I started taking the carburetor off and all that good stuff. I'm going to narrate some of this because my audio sucked that day. But you can see I'm taking off the pull rope assembly there. And there's the housing on it, and you can see it's the rope was broke and the spring was gone, so we're looking at a new spring, a rope, and the handle, and it was pretty nasty in there. And I was sitting there trying to rotate the engine, the shaft on the engine. It was still frozen, and even the tines. I mean, everything was still locked up. So I just finished finishing up taking off the carburetor, and it was actually pretty nasty also. Everything was rusted up, and you can see the air filter there is just deteriorating in my hands. So I figured, well, I'll keep going. I want to see if I could free that up. So I'm going to go ahead and take the engine off. And it's just like a weed eater. You just, take the screws off there, and usually the shaft or the engine, they come apart. So I had to work its way out of there. There she blows. and it still wasn't turning. So I figured it was going to be the clutch, so I was going to take the housing off and see if he could clean it off. But man, it was on there tight. You see, I was having to just really pry it apart, and it took forever. I thought I was going to break the plastic on the housing, but it finally came apart.
Yep, that's what it was. Look at all that rust.
Tons of rust. So that joker was just frozen, but you can see after it was off, at least now I could rotate the engine.
All right, the engine's turning.
And I was noticing that it was actually turning pretty freely too, so you know the compression was questionable. And I know the tines still couldn't turn, so well, I've gone that far, so it was just 4 bolts holding that gearbox, just mounting it on, so I went in and took it off.
Just in case it makes a mess. I seem to be killing all the grass out here. I need to
and that housing was on there tight. I was having to fight it too to get it separated.
Yeah, there was still a lot of water in there. And a lot of caked up grease. Looks like it's hardened up.
So I kept fighting with it until I could rotate it around and at least take a look at everything. Definitely a lot of corrosion.
Well, alright, so I almost had this housing all the way off, and then I started taking a good look at this, and I popped this axle up. I can see it was fairly free. I know it'll turn, but this axle is just completely frozen. And when I took a close look down in there, I don't know if you can see that. You can see where the teeth on the gear are damaged. And apparently it locked up and it just sat there and stripped. And it could be right in this area too where it stripped. Right in this area, and then these teeth back in here on this. And it's just completely frozen, so I don't have parts to replace it, that's for sure, and I'm not going to put any money into it. So given all the problems with this thing, the damaged gear there, what else? The shape of the engine, everything's rusted out, the clutch was frozen, the carburetor's gone, and even the combustion, the compression is questionable. I think it would have been okay, but I didn't see any scoring or anything on the cylinder, but when I was rotating it around, it just seemed to rotate way too easy. So given that, I don't think I'm going to go any further. This thing is completely apart. I guess I can just put it back together just to clean up the mess, and that's it. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. This time, too much going on. For the amount of time and potential money to put into it, I don't think it's going to be worth it, to tell you the truth. These things, they're not that hot on the market, you know, as far as the used one goes, and new ones are not that expensive. But oh well, so that's it. Every once in a while that happens, but thanks for watching. I hope I didn't waste your time. I guess it was just a good video on troubleshooting everything and finding what's wrong with it before we go any further and decide to fix it or not. But oh well, that's it. That was I'll try to edit this to make a short video, and I'll get started on the next one just so it won't seem like a waste of time to me. But anyway, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and watch for my next video.